That light is really bad. I'm just gonna wait a few minutes for people to come on. I also need to get my phone plugged in because the battery is very low. So, my son is trying to talk to me. Give me 1 second. What's up? No, come here. What's up? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He wanted to ask if he's still allowed to watch the Halo Red versus Blue show. Sorry about that. So I'm just gonna wait just a couple more minutes before I really jump into things. Hi guys. It's been a while since I've done a live, and so but that's because I've been busy. I have here the current. I don't know if you can see it. It's backwards, but it's the current RCWs in Washington State. It's 9.41.010 all the way to .081 or .810. Sorry. And I've been going through that. I'm trying to write this bill here, as you guys know. And I also have our infamous 1639, which I absolutely despise. Doing some more work on it and reading through it umpteen times. Now I've lost track of how many times I've read this thing. But every time I read it, it gets more and more ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's something that's thrown together. It has the appearance of being thrown together by grade schoolers who said, oops, sorry, I forgot to put this in my report. They just passed 594 in the last election, and that's what resulted in this. This is the current gun laws in Washington State. Look at how many pages this is. How many pages is this? Let's see. Oh, each section is page numbered. So I know when I printed this off, it was roughly 300 pages. Roughly 300 pages between this and 1639. All right. So these are the two laws I'm working on. I'm trying to write this bill so as not to interfere with very much that's already on the books. Although I'm finding that the laws that are currently on the books, I have to get my card. In this first page right here, this little highlighted place lists all the areas of this huge thick thing that have been amended. And then there's a whole bunch of new sections they've added. So they just passed this, and then they throw this at us, and they're getting ready to throw some more at us come January. So what I've done is, for those of you that didn't see the photo post, I've gone through, Randy, yep. Honey, can you get the cookies? Check them. Yes. I've got peanut butter cookies in the oven too. I've gone through and I've highlighted all areas that, in pink, that will be removed or repealed completely by what I'm writing, by the bill, legislation, what have you, whatever you want to call it, that I'm writing. Now, I had originally hoped to get this thing done before the legislature started their session. As I've been working on it, I'm realizing the sheer idiocy of all of this. There's so much that has to be rewritten in both this and this, because there's no way to repeal or amend this without messing with the laws that have already been on the books for years. So, in pink, those are the areas that reference the state having power to determine who can and cannot own a gun. This is where they target law-abiding citizens, is in these pink sections with state, the words the state, and then in the sections where it applies to penalties for law-abiding gun owners who become victims of crime when their houses get broken into and their guns get stolen, right? Or their cars. Or say you're open carrying and you're walking around and you've got it open carried in your holster. My husband brought up a good point to me today. Open carry in your holster. Somebody walks by and swipes the gun out of your holster. And, you know, how is that your fault? You know, yeah, you have a strap over it. But still, you know, my husband told me he wants me to learn how to prevent disarming. You know, how to counter somebody who's trying to take my gun. And he brought up a good point there. But all of these pink sections are all of those penalties. And in what I'm writing, they will all be gone. They will no longer be there. There will no longer be penalties for law-abiding gun owners. You know, they're instead, what I'm hoping to make part of this is basic civil infractions, much like a traffic ticket, for those that lack common sense. You know, being intoxicated and firing off your gun irresponsibly, stupid little stuff like that. If they're gonna like fines, like $50 fine, you know, cumulative like that. But for the most part, what I'm focusing on is readdressing the problem of gun violence back towards those that are criminals. For instance, there is already a firearm enhancement on violent crime, and I don't think it needs to be an enhancement. I think it needs to be a 100% if you end up committing a crime with a firearm. It doesn't matter what kind of crime it is. It can be rape, it can be mugging, it can be assault, it can be bodily harm. You know, it does not matter. You do a drive-by, any crime with a firearm should carry a minimum of 10 years mandatory prison time. Minimum. And it's cumulative. In what I'm writing, it will be cumulative. So, when you commit armed robbery and you get out, you know, on good time or whatever, you still have to serve 10 years. Regardless, the good time comes off of the robbery charge, not off of the firearm charge. So it would make it a separate charge. All right, and you'd have to serve that 10 years minimum. That leaves it up to the judge's discretion. Say we have a serial criminal over here that really likes his guns, but can't keep his guns to himself, so to speak. So they'd have 10 years, and it accumulates. You get out, you get back into society, you go back for those guns and commit another violent crime. You have two chances. You commit another violent crime, and it's 20 years. Mandatory. Right? Stiffer penalties is what I'm talking about. Stiffer penalties for gun criminals. I've gone through, and I have to see, these are my notes. I've got lots and lots and lots and lots of notes. And these are just on the penalties for gun criminals, violent gun criminals. um, I've written almost an entire page of notes regarding criminal penalties for gang motivated crimes. You know, people want these guns off of the street, right? Were the cookies done? People want these guns off the street. They want these criminals off the street. You know, if these guys weren't on the street and all of them using their guns against all of us, the law-abiding citizens, we wouldn't feel such a huge need to protect ourselves all the time. We'd still care because it's our right, but they would see crime go down, number one, because all the criminals are locked up where they belong. The violent criminals are all locked up where they belong. Now, I don't know about y'all out there. I'm going to share something about me. I'm a rape survivor. And I'm a domestic violence survivor. Okay? So, I don't want these people loose. I don't want these violent criminals loose in our streets. I don't want someone who's going to go and shoot up a 17-year-old kid because he's in a rival group. All right? I don't want that person out on the street. You know, there's also provisions in here for kids who make stupid, deadly decisions at a young age. 14 and under. Now, they need to be punished for that. And under my provisions, they will be. But at the same time, we're giving the hardcore criminals a second chance at life out. So why would we permanently punish a kid, you know? Age 14, they aren't thinking straight at that age. I've got a 13-year-old, and he stopped thinking straight when he was 10. And then I have civil infractions. This might piss some of you off, but to be perfectly honest, not everybody who owns a gun or is a law-abiding citizen, pardon my slur right there, is a responsible gun owner. It's just like driving a car. You got to be responsible about it. We don't want drunk drivers on the street, right? I don't want someone who's drunk being careless with a firearm, honestly. So we have basic civil infractions. You know, and this right here, these are the only notes I have, is this little section up here. This section down here then goes into a really good idea that somebody on our page actually suggested. Firearm education training and issuance of intermediate permits. This is kind of a give and take proposal here. You win some, you lose some. Okay, they don't want 18-year-olds to be able to possess firearms or purchase firearms. We heard you loud and clear. All you people up in the state legislature, Governor Inslee, Cantwell, Murray, we heard y'all loud and clear on that one. We get it. But what we don't get is why our children, age 18, they're considered an adult, they're allowed to vote, they're allowed to enlist in our military and use military assault weapons to go and kill other people in other armies and die to protect our freedoms, one of which you're trying to take away, by the way. And I'm speaking to the legislatures, not all of them. Some of them are opposed to 1639. Some of them are opposed to gun control. But the ones that I'm talking to, they know who they are. All right, so we have firearm education and training and issuance of intermediate permits. The state shall employ, these are my notes, the state shall employ a minimum of 4 instructors per county for the purpose of teaching firearm safety and operation and use to anyone aged 16 and older, and shall charge a fee which will be no more than is necessary to cover the cost of learning materials, including various firearms and accessories. The ammunition used for this class shall be blank rounds, and the instructors that will be employed shall be law enforcement officers, military veterans, and any special forces not currently in active duty. Who better to learn from about firearm safety and use and operation and assembly than our law enforcement and military personnel? Right? We know they will teach the class well. We know they will teach it without bias because they have to be unbiased. They have to be. They took an oath. They took an oath. So they have to teach correct material. They can't teach indoctrinate people. They can't. So the thoughts behind that are that at age 16, they start to learn how to drive a car. They're eligible to get an intermediate driver's license, right? So why not be eligible at age 16 to receive an intermediate weapons permit, concealed weapons permit, but weapons permit. They can't carry it concealed until they have reached the age of 18. They cannot use it except under the supervision of an adult over the age of 21 until they're 18, right? And at the age of 8, and this class shall be available for anybody ages 16 to 21 years old, the same as driver's education, right? And the class would be paid for by the fees, and it would be implemented much like the driving schools, but it would be sponsored by the state so that lower income families who want their kids to learn how to use a firearm, how to use a hunting rifle, how to defend themselves, would be able to apply for scholarships and things such as that for their kids. You know, it's not quite finished yet, but those are just a couple of the things that I'm proposing in my bill. I have to finish reading the current gun laws in Washington State. I've already dissected 1639 completely. All right, so here, this was and still is going to be my proposal to it was my proposal to City Council. It's going to be a proposal to Benton County, so some of it's going to have to be amended. It's on my little note cards right here, front and back. This is what I took into the City Council meeting. All right. Under the construction section, conflict in Kennewick, it's 10.12.900. Conflict with state law, amended to read, if any portion of this chapter is found by the city of Kennewick to be in conflict with or more restrictive than state law insofar as it concerns firearms, then it shall be construed consistently with and in harmony with state law. If state law is found by the city of Kennewick or its constituents to be in conflict with the Constitution of the United States as it pertains to the Bill of Rights or the Washington State Constitution, Article 1, Section 24, then in accordance with the Second, First, and Fourth Amendments and to preserve the constitutional rights of the people, the city of Kennewick will not uphold, enforce, or enact any such law until all of the following occur. A. The law is amended so as not to infringe or impair the constitutional rights of the people. B. It is thoroughly and openly reviewed by both City Council and the constituents of Kennewick. C. It is placed before the people who, being of legal age and status, shall vote. D. It is passed through a majority vote, supermajority actually, I need to change that, consisting of 70% or more of legal voters. E. approved for enactment by City Council after passed by a 70% or more majority vote of the people. This amendment applies only as it pertains to Chapter 10, Section 12 of the Kennewick Code of Ordinances. Now, that's going to be changed according to Benton County. I want you all to know I'm working very hard for you guys. I've been a little bit quiet on the page the last few days because I've been working really, really hard on all of this stuff. This is a lot of reading. I've also been on the phone with lots of different people, leaders of other groups, and I have partnered with one other group, and we'll be working with them. And I'm talking to a couple of other leaders about partnering with them. So my hope for unification is starting to kind of come together a little bit. But I want you all to know, I don't want you all to get discouraged. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this rally that's coming up on Saturday. This rally is not being put on by Silent No More, Repeal 1639. Okay. This rally is being put on by Washington 3%. And it's called the Liberty or Death Rally, Part 2, Rally Against Left-Wing Media Bias. Now, I have looked into that rally. Earlier today, I wanted to go. I was planning to go. I was making plans to go. And then I started to see and hear whispers about who exactly would be counter-protesting. Now, I am not a chicken. I'm really not a chicken. But I also recognize that with the presence of Antifa already promised to be there, and the rumors of and confirmed presence of Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer, and the fact that it is in Seattle, one of the most, forgive me guys, one of the most liberal cities in the state, and the fact that it is at Seattle City Hall, all of these things lead me to feel it necessary for those members that, like myself, that are planning to go. I was planning to go. I won't be attending. And the reason for that is because I'm not a radical. I'm not an extremist. I am not personally ready to jump into a crowd like that and get in the middle of a potential riot situation. I've spoken with a few different people, some of whom are from Seattle, some of whom are very familiar with those groups, not the Washington 3%, but the other groups that are promised to be there and counter-protesting. Socialist Democrats of America, and Antifa, Rose City Antifa specifically. There was a post on Twitter by them. So I personally can't stand in that sort of situation. For those of you who are planning to attend still, please, please, please be very careful. Be alert. Before each of our own events, we have a little safety meeting. I'm going to take a little bit of time now to go over some of the things we discussed in the safety meeting. Make sure you know the laws, the local ordinances of Seattle before you go. make sure that you're not carrying a firearm onto the Seattle City Hall property or in any gun-free zones, because you will get arrested. And I don't want to see any of you get arrested. Do not engage hostiles. As hard as it is, and as pissed off as they might make you, it's not worth getting arrested or getting a bottle across your head. It's really not worth it. I've seen them do that in Portland. Don't engage them. Instead, back up. If y'all know somebody that's there, group up. Strength and safety in numbers. Group up. Protect each other. Look out for each other. But above all, do not draw your firearms on counter-protesters unless your very life or the life of somebody else is in jeopardy. They want you to do that. They want you to draw your weapons on them. Then they can scream, hey, look at me, they're trying to kill me. They want that. Don't let them goad you like that. All right? This is a pretty serious moment. Stay safe. Stay very, very, very safe. Don't, remember to act in such a way that you want everybody to see Second Amendment activists acting. Remember that we are not radicals. We are not crazy. We are not extremists. We just want the right to keep our guns, as the Second Amendment allows us to. Some of you have seen the events that I've had here in the Tri-Cities. We were very peaceful. We were friendly, waving at people. I know that our group members that are planning to attend this rally might not be going to represent our group or any particular group. They might just be going to represent for the Second Amendment, and that's awesome. That's fantastic. But remember, when you're representing for the Second Amendment, you're representing other gun owners. All right? We're not crazy. We're not radicals. We're not extremists that go and shoot off our machine guns at random. We're not actively violent people. We aren't going to threaten or kill somebody just for the heck of it. We don't want that image portrayed. That's not who we are. So please, please remember, do not draw your firearms unless your life or the life of someone else is in immediate danger. Excuse me. One of the other things that we go over is when you are confronted by a counter-protester and they're being aggressive, you step back. Do not step towards them. Do not raise your voice. Over here in little old Tri-Cities, we smile and wave. Can't do that there. But, keep your guard up, but do not engage them. Do everything you can to avoid engaging. If you're getting mobbed on, and that's where I say safety in numbers. If you're getting mobbed on, call out. Call out and other people will come to your rescue. They will. And someone will call the police. But don't give them any reason to come at you. Don't hide. That's not what you're going for. Don't hide. But do not give them a reason to throw a cocktail at you. Do not give them a reason to hit you in the face with a bottle. Do not give them a reason to break your nose, whatever. There's going to be people there with cell phones that are going to be videoing any confrontation at all. So that's what I'm asking you. Just think. Think about it. Make sure, above all else, make sure you're safe. Be safe and don't get arrested. Familiarize yourself with the local ordinances in Seattle. Do not carry a firearm into Seattle City Hall property. Like I said, I would go. I was planning to go, and then I heard about the counter protests, and that is not something that I am equipped or prepared to get in the middle of physically right now. Maybe in a couple of months I will be, but honestly, I need some classes first. I need some classes. I need to learn. I've got some very, very, very good people who are willing to work with me and teach me. And that's basically what I had to say. So to really quick recap, here's the notes that I have for my bill. Stiffer, extremely stiff penalties for violent crimes committed with guns, including gang crimes. Minor little civil infractions for people who are being irresponsible with their guns, you know, making the rest of us that are not irresponsible look really, really bad. Little civil infractions for people that are just being stupid and ignorant with a gun. Doing things like shooting apples off of each other's heads. Yeah, that's not such a good idea. Don't do that. Firearm education and training and issuance of intermediate licenses for people ages 16 and up. Basically, it's a license to carry a firearm, but it is not a license to carry a concealed firearm. You can use it, but you must be under the supervision of an adult over the age of 21, much like driver's ed classes. Teaching these classes would be law enforcement, military veterans, and any special forces not currently in active duty. Retired veterans, discharged veterans, maybe go and get the man who lost a leg. Have him teach this class. It, you know, gives them purpose. It gives them something that they can do, that they feel like they're contributing. You know, I know some of them out there struggle to get jobs. It would give them a job. It would give them an extremely important job. I am going through the RCW current gun laws in relation to 1639. And inevitably, some of the things that I write up are going to end up amending and repealing this happy little Hummer that they just passed a couple of years ago, 594. Don't know if any of you remember that, but this is the result of 594. And then they go and throw 1639 at us. And then, yeah, they're already talking about throwing some more at us. So, no, we've had enough. We're saying enough. Enough's enough. We're done. Governor Inslee, you hear that? Murray Cantwell, Patty Murray. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. You can't take them. You can't take our guns. You can't take our Second Amendment. You can't take our First Amendment. You can't take the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth. None of it. You can't have it. Because we will fight you back. And we will do it the legal way. We don't got to go to war. You know why? Because there's enough of us that have enough information and enough education about these things. Any citizen is allowed to write and propose a bill. It's not just for the government to do. So that's what I'm doing. Coming for you. Governor Inslee, Cantwell, Murray, and the like. My name is Raydonna, and I'm coming for you with my happy little yellow notepad. and the legislation that I'm working on. The people of Washington State are fed up, and we're done. On another note, sorry it's been so long since I've gone live, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that if you're in Seattle this weekend, on Saturday, be very careful. All right? Thank you guys so much, and I'm hoping to get into doing regular live videos. Have a good evening. I got to get back to work on all of this stuff, though. Good night.